It sidesteps the fact that they weren't going to call it what I'm sure is the original title, which is Queen, the Freddie Mercury story, How I Learned to Get AIDS and Stop Being an Asshole.
Bohemian Rhapsody, starring Rami Malek.
More like starring Freddie Mercury, because I couldn't tell the difference, could you? He literally says, "Why didn't you tell me about Live Aid?" Which is something that somebody only says if they fucking are in Back to the Future.
Supposedly Jake Gyllenhaal wanting to be Batman, and I'm like, fuck off. Yeah. Stay away.
Forget about it. I forgot.
It's fine.
No, it's not fine.
I just eternally sunshined you out of my memory.
Your significant other was there, and so now
that
I
was
feel,
the
I
angriest "it's fine"
people.
I've heard in a long time. It seriously sounded like Lucy in an episode.
Hold
It's
on.
fine, Ricky. Welcome into Film Tank, the weekly podcast that covers both new and classic cinema. On this episode of Film Tank, we discuss the new film Bohemian Rhapsody, starring Rami Malek. If you would like to get in touch with Film Tank, you can always email us at filmtankshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Film Tank Show. And you can listen to all of our episodes on our website, filmtankshow.com, or on iTunes. And now, here are your hosts, Nick Cheney, Toussaint Egan, and myself, Alex Diekman. Hello there again, everybody, and welcome in to episode 174 of Film Tank. This is a very special episode, not just because we're talking about the film about the band Queen.
Especially not because of that.
But because myself and Nick Cheney and Toussaint Egan are not the only three people here.
Nope.
But we have not but one, but two guests.
Oh my god, where are they?
Literally, where are they?
They're just going to knock on the door.
Who is it?
Wow, that's really bad.
Ed
Hello.
McMahon!
Wow, that was awkward.
It's Anna!
Hi,
Anna!
That was...
Hey!
Hi.
And it's Sam!
Oh, boy.
What a surprise!
Now hold on. Nick sounded really disappointed.
I mean, that has nothing to
I
do
get
with
it.
you.
I'll just walk out.
I mean, I get it too. I can leave.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Nick, please.
We
have
solved that.
guests. Multiple. Guests.
Did you just say be our guest?
No, we have multiple guests.
Oh, we have multiple guests.
Yes.
Are you like saying that so that like I'm quote unquote on my best behavior?
Yes.
Or
That's unfortunately going to only elicit the opposite reaction.
yeah, I've already lost my pants.
Yeah. That's fine. That's okay.
Anyway.
It's going to turn into the Kenny episodes, and that's what you wanted?
No, that's not what
Good
I wanted.
job. This is on you.
I just wanted to have fun.
These are your choices.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yes, they are.
That's the current political scheme. Just make people think that it's their fault. That's
Oh,
good.
God.
That's
Anyway,
good.
continue.
So, today we are going to talk about Bohemian Rhapsody, which is the new film sort of directed by Bryan Singer.
He showed up once or twice.
Yeah. He
Yep.
claims he had a good reason, and he may have. However...
I don't want to hear it.
Well, all of the events surrounding it are very perplexing.
Yeah.
And also, a certain character didn't care for it, and he was being kind of a diva about it, but he's playing Freddie Mercury, so it kind of all makes sense. So, we'll get into that shortly, as we'll be talking about the film about Freddie Mercury and the rest of Queen, which they were very, the remaining members were very...
Hard. They had a very close grip on what the actual direction of the film was.
Well, they wanted themselves to look good.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Put it that way.
Yeah, it was.
So we'll talk about that and all those decisions and everything else that happens within the film. But first, since we're all here, all five of us, this is great.
Mighty Morphin time.
See, you shouldn't have done that because now I kind of want to. It would be awesome. We could get on the Megazord. We could fight.
Which dinosaur would you be?
I always was in Tommy's corner, so I would be
The Black Ranger?
No, I'd go old
Do
school.
you
I'd
know-
be the Green Ranger.
Oh, I thought Tommy. Oh,
That's Jason.
Well, he was the Red Ranger.
Jason was the Red
originally.
Ranger.
Oh, just because he was black doesn't mean that he.
But
was
the Green Ranger had his
black
own Megazord, which was
Ranger.
awesome.
You're confusing. That
Yeah, what
with
are you
some-
guys talking about?
The Power Rangers, the first iteration of the Power Rangers.
Well, yeah, that's like. What are you? Which one are you talking about?
Well, I guess I'll be Billy because he was the smart one.
I'm Kim.
That's cool. Anna, which one are you?
Well, I was gonna say Kim, but Nick obviously took that.
We can both be.
We can have
Kim.
two Kims.
Yeah.
We can have two
Yeah.
Kims.
Our outfits are the same shade of pink.
It was the best of Kims. It was the worst of Kims.
Kim Kardashian.
Fine, then I get fuchsia.
Okay.
Ooh, fancy.
Sorry, Sam. You don't have much to pick from here.
You're Rita
You,
Repulsa.
you can either be the black guy or the Asian girl.
I would go with the saber-tooth tiger.
Yeah. Saber-tooth at this point.
Yeah.
What about the little robot who looks like the guy from Rocky 4?
We don't talk about him.
Oh.
Why not? What's wrong with Alpha?
There's nothing wrong with him, but also, what can you say about him, though?
I don't know.
Is it a him?
Don't know.
Good
That's a good question.
Couldn't tell you.
That's a good question.
Nobody cares.
Let's discuss.
No. What we are actually going to discuss is
unpack this.
the rest of the year is 2018 is coming to a close quickly, which is good or bad.
Terrifying.
You're not sure about 2019?
No, this year's just gone by so fast. It's
Yeah?
like, wait a minute.
For real, it feels like
It
last
has gone by
Christmas.
pretty fast. I do
Yeah.
agree with you.
I think that's a thing about getting older. Like, I'm assuming when I get to like 50, it's just not going to even happen.
Remember last Friday? That was 12 years ago.
Tucson is always here to remind us that the further and further we get from the 90s, only 90 kids will remember it.
Only 90s kids.
Yes.
So, there are a lot of films that are going to be jam-packed into the end of the year, specifically ones that are going to be limited released and then released in January and February and so on. So, interested to see what everyone's looking forward to for the next, 6 weeks or so. Anybody have something they want to mention first?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good.
Okay.
Good.
Good. Because the segment almost ended really quickly.
I'm looking forward to... Well, first off, what I'm looking for...
Oh, here we go. Tucson's just going to read off titles here. Perfect.
No, I'm going to just name off a few. I'm looking forward to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse,
Okay.
which is the animated film that's going to be coming out later this year that focuses on Miles Morales. And
You didn't see Venom, did you?
I did not see Venom.
So you didn't get to see the scene that's probably about a quarter of the actual film?
Yeah, but I'm gonna go see the movie. Just
So you'll
because-
see it anyways?
Yeah, because the trailer looks awesome, and I really like good animation. It looks like it's gonna be really well animated. I'm looking forward to Overlord, that World War II like zombie occult like action horror sort of movie that's gonna be coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually looking forward to The Girl in the Spider's Web for some reason. I know I shouldn't, but I saw Lakeith Stanfield in the trailer. And that was kind of what intrigued me about it. It's like I originally wasn't going to deal with it. Then I was like, okay, well, let's see what this is. But Widows, I'm really looking forward to. I think that's going to look great.
So The Girl in the Spider's Web, is that an original story? Is that a
No, there's a book.
Anna, please.
is it
No. Sorry. Go ahead. Finish your question, then I'll try to answer
because the original trilogy of the Swedish films had the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and then I think it ended with the girl who kicked the hornet's nest.
That's correct. So basically, I'm going to make sure I'm saying the right thing here, because what happened is that the first 3 books were published by the same author, and he died before they became a worldwide success. And then the story continued by a different author, and this movie, The Girl in the Spider's Web, is based on the book written by that different author. Yes, so it's by David Lagerkrantz, and the original one was written by Stieg Larsson. So
Okay.
it's like kind of a spin-off, kind of not. It's just continuing, hence why I guess it makes sense, because I don't think Rooney Mara has any ties to the original film anymore, or the rights or anything. So yeah, hence.
But they've skipped past
Yeah, exactly.
the second and third
Exactly.
story.
I don't think they should have, but that's just my opinion.
you could go see the Swedish films.
I do know that one controversy about this is that because
Not that one, though.
because Stieg Larsson passed away and they had a different author sort of like step in to fulfill the role. I know that Larsson's estate is pretty much maintained by his family, and they are sort of like very adamant about selling the rights and actually like profiting off of this. So I think that, that's what part of my initial reservation about this film was. And I was just like, do I really want to watch a film that, like, I have to read more about this. And I want to research more about this because I want to see what was Stieg Larsson's like actual like feelings about film adaptations of his work. Because the trilogy is already out there, and those books are already those books were written by him, and those films are based off of those books. But it's like a similar situation to like Frank Herbert in the Dune series and how he passed away, and his son Brian Herbert like took on the role of like trying to flesh out the backstory, and those novels just aren't anywhere near as good or poignant as Frank's were, just because Brian is going straight for sci-fi, whereas like Frank was going for like socio-political allegory. So.
Now, I will
Classic
say,
Frank.
in my opinion, Claire Foy is a far better actress than Nomi Rapace and also to Rooney Mara. So, that's fine. It's fine. You
Them's fighting
you
words.
can like her. That's fine.
Those are fighting words.
We're having struggles with all sharing microphones.
Here's
here,
what I'll
so.
say about Claire Foy as the girl in the Spider's Web.
Elizabeth Salander.
Correct. I think Claire Foy is a better actress, but I also don't think she's necessarily. I don't know. Every time I see a
Right for
trailer,
this role?
I just kind of find it laughable. Not because she's not good, but because I'm just like, oh boy, like you're trying so hard, and you could be doing this in a much better environment. I don't know. There's just,
Okay.
I think Rooney Mara for me, where I haven't seen the Noomi Rapace Swedish original trilogy, but for me at least, Rooney Mara I actually think worked because she was extremely unassuming, and that's kind of the point of the Elizabeth Salander character from my limited exposure. Well, I mean, as far as she has to be she's not a Venus flytrap. She is a more of a subtle, whatnot.
As the films go on, that
Yeah.
starts to go away a little bit.
True.
Which is why I think it's awkward to have the fourth film and skip past the second and the
Right.
third.
Yeah.
Because if you just saw the first one, which was directed by David Fincher and starred Rooney Mara and Daniel Craig,
Yeah.
and then you go from that to this, and you try to put the two together, I think you might be seeing two literally different characters, even though they're played by the different person.
True. Here's what I'll say. Fede Alvarez is directing this, and I loved Don't Breathe, and I actually have heard good things, at least decent things, about the Evil Dead remake that I haven't seen yet, but I've always been meaning to. It stars Claire Foy, an actress who's one of my favorite currently right now. I mean, she was in Unsane, who I thought was, or which I thought
She was even really good in she was really good in First Man too, which was a film.
She was there, I heard.
Yeah, that's the thing about her being really good in that movie is like she's good, but
She's good wallpaper.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't think she was given too much to do personally.
I think that makes sense for the time.
I guess,
No?
but women
Okay.
existed back then. I don't
That's
know if
true.
you disagree.
Wow. Okay. It's a film about men going to space in the 1960s. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Have
to
you
choose
seen
that.
Hidden Figures?
Okay.
But what I will say is that I love all those things. There's even a few whatever, but everything about that trailer that I've seen so far just screams disaster. I mean, you have Stephen Merchant in a very random role who's supposed to be serious, and I actually liked him as a quote unquote serious whatever in Logan, but to be a confidant, I just feel like there's a lot of weird choices. So it's either going to be one of the better movies of the year, or it's going to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
That's a wide breadth.
Yeah.
But are you interested in seeing it at least?
I mean, I'll put it this way: if one of you two is going to see it, I will go see it. But if nobody was interested in it, I would probably not go out of my
Would
way.
not seek it out.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, we'll plan a day.
And I'll go see it.
There you go. So one of the films that I'm really looking forward to for the end of the year, is probably a film that I don't want to say nobody else is interested in, but a lot of people are poo-pooing.
Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
I will be taking a pass on that, I believe. But I am very interested to see what The Crimes of Grindelwald is, because a lot of people are already turned off by that series who did not like the original Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
And also by Johnny Depp, which is beyond understandable.
Yeah.
However, I am somebody who loved the original film in this particular series. I like a lot of the actors in this film, and I liked a lot of the actors in the previous film. And I am just interested to see what this is going to be and how it's going to tie to the rest of the Potter series, because I'm assuming we're going to get way more of things like young Voldemort and more of Dumbledore than we're currently getting in this particular film, and I want to see what that looks like.
This is number 2 out of 5.
Yes.
Yeah,
I knew that.
this is feeling like a Hobbit situation.
I agree.
Even The Hobbit wasn't that stretched out.
Hobbit was originally supposed to be 4 films, I think, wasn't
But-
it? No, it was 2,
But
and
at
then
least
they
that
made
was
it 3.
3. But at least that was 3 films stretched out from an existing property. Like there were pages written.
Yeah, there were pages written,
Here,
and then they
this
decided
is
to like
5 films
some
from
more
this
pages in.
idea that I had when I was drinking coffee at midnight and was trying
I
to figure
will
out how to
say-
make more money on Harry Potter.
I will say,
Pretty much.
I'm with you on that aspect of it. However, I thought the first film was actually very good. And I'm interested to see what happens in the sandbox, because I could see it expanding just as the Harry Potter films expanded. Now, there were a lot of books on it, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you cannot expand on that universe and do it well.
The biggest thing, because I'll probably go see it, even though I hated the first one, but the biggest thing that I'll be looking for as a non-fan is if Jude Law now
yeah, he's playing Dumbledore, young
he
Dumbledore.
is, and if he is as wasted as Colin Farrell was in the first movie, because
Not drunk, but
no, but wasted.
unused. Yep.
So I don't know. I'm hoping that as much as I don't want this to turn into like the Dumbledore prequel, I also feel like save me Jude Law, you're my only hope.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a couple other films I am very much looking forward to. Actually, I don't really know why, because this doesn't really seem like a film that's up my alley, but I'm somewhat interested in the content, and I think it's actually going to lead to a couple really good performances. And that film is Mary, Queen of Scots.
Same.
Right? Starring Margot Robbie and Saoirse Ronan as they're playing Queen Elizabeth I and Mary Stuart, and it looks like they are both giving amazing performances in the trailer. And also the cinematography looks fantastic. And then the other 2 films that I'm looking forward to round out the year big time are also Overlord, that Toussaint already mentioned. The idea of historical fiction always interests me, and it seems like this has a chance to be good and not in a Cowboys versus Aliens way. And also, too, another film that seems like a film I'm probably going to hate, but I'm intrigued to see, is the new Natalie Portman film, Vox Lux, which, again, looks...
Does that come out this year?
It does. It comes out in early December. It looks like a film that I'm going to absolutely hate, but I am very intrigued because I think Natalie Portman's actually a fabulous actress, and I think she's got a chance here to put on another wonderful performance. And I think I could hate the movie. So, we'll see. Cool.
I'll really quickly...
I was going to say, we're kind of just taking turns here. This has just turned into that, but that's okay.
Whatever. I mean, the only film that's still basically longing over my radar is Suspiria. I feel like maybe it hasn't been documented, maybe it has, but I've been on board for a Suspiria remake since the start. Not because like I want to see remakes of all my favorite things, but because I genuinely think that the original Argento film is fantastic, but also is not wholly unique in its ideology, that I could see another filmmaker spinning it in a different way. I do have to interrupt what I'm saying really quickly, though, because what the fuck are you doing, Toussaint?
It's just because every time somebody says Suspiria, I always think of Rihanna's Disturbia.
Okay.
Magnitude.
Glad I asked that question.
Bum bum be dum bum bum be dum bum.
I think Toussaint is secretly way more into pop music than we know.
You know, I like pop music. You know, I'll
That
say
You don't
is
listen to
apparent.
I'll
Ariana
say
Grande.
it. You know, I like pop music. I liked the new Ariana Grande single.
We
And
were
you-
made aware.
And you know what? I've also been listening to the new Earl Sweatshirt song that came out, and it's pretty good
It's
too.
not pop.
You know what? I listen to a lot of music. Nick. I also like the new James Blake. I know that sounds, I don't know. James Blake is kind of a dick, but, you know, his music's okay sometimes.
Well, you're beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You're beautiful. It's true. Continue.
Please
You're
do.
almost done with your first beer. This is
This is
So-
usual.
so yeah, Suspiria. Everything I've heard about it obviously makes it sound like it's kind of a winner if you're looking for the right things. And
His film from last year was right up your alley. So
it was, and the fact that he pivoted, I would say, a hard right from a down to earth adaptation of a Tuscan romance to a deeply surreal and chilling horror.
Is this filmed on film?
Is
Do you
it
know?
what?
Do you?
Oh,
Do you know? You know what I'm talking about?
It sure looks like it. If it's
Definitely
not, it's going to look
Call
like
Me
it.
by Your Name was, because I haven't seen this in
Yeah.
the theater. I don't know if this was or not. I wouldn't be shocked if it was, though.
Yeah, the color grading and the texture, at least on the trailer that I saw, I was a little bit like weirded out because
Yeah.
like this looks like an older film, like not
Yeah.
like just in terms of its.
I would not be surprised at all.
Right.
The look in the first trailer had a very Hitchcock feel.
There was also like the stinger that was like sort of stretched over the course of the trailer, but no, I totally get you. Yeah, I feel that.
And then the other thing that I'll mention minorly is that, I'm interested in seeing Joseph Kahn's new film called Bodied. Joseph Kahn is the auteur behind a film that Alex hated, that I made Toussaint and Alex watch, called Detention.
I like Detention. I've heard some mixed readings on.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily
Bodied.
looking forward to it to see if I like it so much as just to see what it is. What's up?
So Detention was the one with Josh Hutcherson,
Yes,
right?
it was.
So Joseph Kahn is known for directing music videos.
Yes.
And Detention was like I think it was his first feature film. I liked Detention a lot. I didn't know he was coming out with another.
Yes,
That's really
Detention
cool.
is great. It was actually his second. His first was Torque, which they make fun of in Detention because one of the students says, "Did you see that Torque movie?" And he's like, "Yeah, that was a real piece of shit." Because even he has a sense of humor about himself.
Bodied is produced by Eminem. I
It
know.
is, and so I will admit, as someone who is one of the, I'm like Burgess Meredith in the episode of Twilight Zone: Time Enough at Last, where I'm like the only man on earth that's still slightly into Eminem. And,
Nice Burgess Meredith reference.
Thank you. And
Cut me, Mick.
I'll admit that
Cut me.
I'm slightly interested just to see what it's in, especially because it's not starring Eminem, so it seems less like a vanity project and more just like him, informing the film itself. And also, really deep cut, I found out earlier today that in the movie is the actor Simon Rex, who in Scary Movie 3 played the Marshall Mathers character parodied of 8 Mile.
That is
So the fact that he's in a serious movie about rap battles
semi-serious. Yeah,
is well, yeah, I mean semi, but
it's Joseph Kahn.
not Scary Movie
Right.
esque serious. So.
Before
Yeah.
you hand it off to
Yes.
one of the ladies to let us know what they're looking forward to,
Ladies,
I know you have missed something, and I want to bring it up because I want you to hear your thoughts on it and just about
yes.
what you're looking forward to about it, and that is the new Lars von Trier film, The House That Jack Built.
Oh
So,
boy,
okay, you know what? Actually, I'd probably put that as number one. I was just looking through Wikipedia, and they didn't list that because they're fucking jerks. That's probably my number one. The thing about Lars von Trier is that I love Lars von Trier, but I'm not like in love with him in the sense that every time he releases a new movie, I am simultaneously super pumped to see it, but also completely ready to hate it. Like, I am not there day one just to, like PTA, just to jack off to it, But
he's that kind of guy who he makes art that is aimed to repulse.
Yeah, and I'm always ready to be repulsed. Like, if I don't like it, I will firmly stand in that. Because
It seems
not
like you might have
eliminating why
it
you
seems
hate
like you
it.
might have a winner here.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you.
And so that's why I'm excited, because either way, there's a conversation to be had. But I gotta say, I think Matt Dillon looks perfectly casted, and I think
Matt Dillon's got to be a murderer in real life, right?
I would assume so.
Like, he must have killed somebody.
Also, the fact that this movie, before it got made, was actually kind of being advertised as quote-unquote influenced by Donald Trump. Like, not literally.
I think he's just saying that. Like, he's a provocateur. And he's
And I
just
think so,
saying shit,
too.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for any parallels or anything like that, but just having that stupid fucking soundbite in my head just makes me want to watch it even more, because I'm just that kind
But
of
this has a
sadist.
very, at least with just seeing the trailer, not seeing the final film, has a very American Psycho feel to it, at least from the outside.
And people walked
and that-
out of it, so...
But American Psycho was a film that people didn't like initially, and it became a very cult film.
True.
So,
But I don't think Lars von Trier has that kind of, he has a cult
Crossover appeal.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, probably that, but also I don't think he has I think he has a very limited shelf life, as far as if you like his films, you like it, but it does not come back around. If you watch Antichrist today, made however many years, actually, obviously it's not old, but it's a good...
decade?
Yeah,
Yeah.
roughly. Like, if you like it, if you watch it today, you're not going to like it more or less than when it came out. His movies do not age.
No,
But
I will say, of all the trailers I've seen of his films, and I've really only seen the two-parter of Nymphomaniac, so I need to catch up on my Lars von Trier.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, I do. Of all the films, this seems like the most that could draw people in without seeing it.
Yeah, although the trailer makes it seem like it's extra sadistic. I mean, Melancholia you might consider that more boring, but I feel like that's slightly more of a draw than Matt Dillon going around and, literally tying people to his truck and dragging them across concrete.
I want to say one last thing about Bodied, because I did see the trailer for that.
Yeah.
I've sort of read some pre-release coverage about it that's talking about how it takes to task the politically correct climate or something like that, and I'm not really I don't really vibe with that. But there was one line in the trailer that I did enjoy. There's one of the opening bars that they did. It's it's when the main guy is being insulted another person in a rap battle, and he claps back at him, and he says, "You may look like Kim Jong-un, but you're not ill, son." And I was like, that is a fucking great bar.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I love that. And he's like, "Oh, it's also if anything, it's politically conscious, or it's sensitive."
Yeah.
Because he's actually Korean.
Yeah. Before I pass it off, I will say I just remembered one other thing, which is a movie called Cammed, which is about a cam girl who makes her living doing those types of activities for money. And one day she logs on to her account, and somebody who looks just like her is performing.
Perfect
And
Blue!
and she's locked out of her account, and it's kind of a I would say sexploitation meets the Twilight Zone, where
Oh boy, yeah, this does seem up your alley.
yeah. So reviews have been mixed, but no matter how bad it is, I will certainly go and at least try it.
Sorry, there are people that said Unsane is bad, and they're all idiots. So fuck
That
them.
is true. So that's the last thing I'll say.
Okay. Nope. No.
After you.
Wow, we're all being really nice here.
Sure.
Please, you go first. Oh, you go first. Let's just go to the review. Fuck it.
So, I know, Alex, you mentioned one of the films I'm excited for this year is Mary Queen of Scots.
And also Mary Cream of Scots.
Hell yeah.
My bad.
Don't forget the cream.
That's
the
a
creme. Come on now.
different one.
No,
Creme de la creme a la
that really
Edgar.
does look. First of all, it has two, I actually think, somewhat underrated actresses in
I
it,
agree.
and just that Queen look. Even though the favorite is going to have a similar-ish thing going on, but just the sort of over-the-top makeup and the all the internal politics that were happening at that time, especially among females, it seems like it has a chance to be a very interesting, smart female catfight from a totally different time period.
So it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm very interested to see if this plays any role in there is a theatrical production of Mary Queen of Scots as well. I actually saw it when I went to the the Stratford Shakespeare Theatre Festival a few years ago.
Where was that at?
Stratford, Ontario.
Oh, wow.
That is so cool that you went there.
Like
It was
the
awesome.
premier
incredible.
Shakespeare.
Is it really? Cool.
Yeah. And it was with two outstanding actresses, and I can't recall their names at the moment.
Lindsay Lohan. And
No.
oh,
Mary Kate Olsen. Just fuck
Ashley
Olsen. No,
Olsen.
fuck her. She's
the
a
fuck?
Yes.
she's just a dumb bulimic. That's fine.
It's the same person. They're just moving back and forth really fast.
Mind blown.
Dinosaurs can't see her.
Yes. But I had seen the stage production of Mary Queen of Scots, and it absolutely blew my mind. It was so well done stage-wise. And even, like, the friends that I had gone with who had seen it, too, at intermission, it was this beautiful moment where the sisters kind of face off against each other, and just as Mary turns to Elizabeth, like it was a beat of them looking at each other, blackout, and then lights come up and they're gone. And it was this beautiful moment. And just everything about the production was so well done that I'm interested to know if this film can bring anything new to the relationship that those sisters have, or had. They're not alive still. I hope.
That would be a record.
Right? But I'm curious to see what sort of dynamic there is and whether or not maybe there's some new light to be shed on it. Or if this follows very closely with the theatrical play itself. And if there is, then in that case, I'm definitely going to be interested in seeing it, obviously. But nonetheless, I'm still excited to see how historically it appears, and just like the story behind the sisters.
What's awesome about this too is I hit on a little bit, but the idea that they have two actresses that are really on different ends of the spectrum in terms of what their careers have been so far.
You said it once, but who are this? Margot Robbie and who?
And Saoirse Ronan.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what's awesome about the two of them is that Margot Robbie has done things like Wolf of Wall Street and Suicide Squad and that Will Smith movie, and Saoirse Ronan
I, Tanya.
and I, Tanya.
Yeah.
That was kind of her first big, I think.
Well, since her introduction after Wolf of Wall
Yes.
Street, that was her first big actual like theatrical film.
You're doing this.
I don't know why I like
I
touching my
think
chest hair.
subconsciously. Yeah.
What?
What?
What are you talking
my
about?
What are you
God.
talking about?
See,
You
why are
take
you
your
doing
mind out of
this?
the gutter.
You're making this.
My mind out of the gutter.
Seriously.
I went and saw The Wolf of Wall Street, and I'm sorry, but the only audience participation in that entire screening was a bunch of people, not myself, hollering and whooping when Margot Robbie.
Really?
Yes,
You
unfortunately.
saw that with a really
At Charles?
amateur audience.
I did. I'm not saying I didn't.
We did go see The Hateful Eight, and there was that one guy.
You're
who,
taking a different direction here, man. That's fine. You're going from guys who want to see a woman naked to a bunch
guy
of
who wants to see a woman hung.
It's the same kind of devaluation. I'll give two thumbs.
I don't know, man. I think that's a different group of people, to be honest with you.
I think
It still echoes in my mind.
I think the Venn diagram is slightly more concentric than we think.
Okay, you might be right. At the same time, trying to get back to reel this in a little bit as we've gotten off topic
little
here. I'm so sorry.
Nah,
I'm
it's
so
all
sorry.
right.
You both have been on many episodes, but I can't stop apologizing for myself and my co-hosts because we're not great people.
I apologize.
Thank you, Tucson. I appreciate that.
I am not apologizing.
Yes, Nick will never apologize.
We know that.
Because,
We know. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyways, so I guess what I'll say is that I'm just excited because they are from two different spectrums, and they're both wonderful actresses. And this is a film that I feel like they both have a chance to make a staple in both of their careers, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I agree. To veer from that conversation
Yes, please do.
now,
I'm so sorry. I just
no,
totally
you're good.
stole your
Don't worry.
segment.
I made my statement, and we're good.
Okay.
And then the other one that I'm interested in seeing is If Beale Street Could Talk. And that comes out in December. And I'll read the little synopsis for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. A woman in Harlem desperately scrambles to prove her fiancé innocent of a crime while carrying their first child.
And who is it directed by?
You quizzing her?
No, I just want to like
Barry
point
Jenkins.
Barry Jenkins.
the guy who directed Moonlight. So
Yes.
And adapted from a James Baldwin novel.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not so white, am I, Toussaint?
Yeah.
let's talk about like Sam. What else?
Sounds like
yeah.
a yes.
I'm very interested to see it just because I really liked, as you mentioned, he also directed Moonlight. I am very interested because that was visually very appealing for a film to me. And that was beautiful, so I can only imagine what this can be. And I'm kind of interested to see what can be done with it. So yeah, that one looks exciting as well. And aside from those two, I mean, I haven't really taken an interest into much else that looks too interesting to me at the moment.
It feels
There's only 2 months left.
Yeah, it feels to me like this is going to be a bit of a slow Oscar season in terms of films being released. There's not a bunch of heavyweights that are coming out. There's a bunch of films that I think are going to fly a little bit under the radar initially and then pick up steam as we go on. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. Anna,
All right.
you get to go last. All
Okay.
right.
Yay.
So my list is pretty different from everybody else's.
All right.
But let's get to it. Okay, number 1, Ralph Breaks the Internet. So that's the
An
sequel.
advertisement for Disney in a film.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I am kind of a sucker for
You seen that second trailer?
And
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that awesome answer, Toussaint.
I am just shamelessly like a VHS Disney child still. So
Disney princesses and stormtroopers, that's all you need.
Disney princesses everywhere in street clothes. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. And then I'm going to also say what I'm not looking forward to. Not Robin Hood.
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I completely agree.
How about
That's a
I
thing?
cringe every time.
Yeah, no, Taron
Yeah.
Egerton's playing
I mean,
Robin Hood.
I'm going to have to see it.
Oh shit!
Because-
I repressed that.
Jamie Foxx
Wow.
is in it.
Because
Yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn is in it.
Yeah, you'll be there.
So I have to do my duty. But
He's
I'm not
playing
going
the
to be.
sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah,
I'll
but
go
I'm not
see-
going to
I'll
be
go
happy
see-
about
I'll go
it.
see it with you.
Okay.
And then
I dragged you to see a Ben Mendelsohn film like 5 years ago, so there you go.
that reminds me, Jamie Dornan is also in Robin Hood, but he's also in that movie coming out called A Private War. So ever since 50 Shades,
yeah.
I mean, good for him. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, here's the thing, though, about Taron Egerton.
Yes.
And that. Just found out today he is not going to be in the next Kingsman, and
I saw the headline too.
I don't know how that's going to work, and
So-
I fucking love it.
when I read that
Is that just
headline-
going to be a Channing Tatum driven film?
I would hope so.
Probably.
Well,
When I read that,
people do like working with him, supposedly.
Yeah.
I guess he's like a great person to work with.
Including female eyes, so that's fine.
and male.
I don't think so.
No? No? Not
I
in the
don't.
Channing
I don't think
Tatum
he's.
thing?
I don't think he's.
Hey,
good looking.
Toussaint, can you just move a little bit so that way Anna can leave?
Whoa.
Well, Nicholas, what did I tell you when we started this podcast? You don't
Always
need to be
wash
on your
my
best
testicles.
behavior.
Oh, wait, what?
Like this episode or this podcast in general?
This episode.
Okay, I was going to say, we've been going for 174 episodes here.
I got to admit, when I saw that headline about Taron...
Your first reaction was, yes.
No. Well, I mean, I don't like him, and I'm not a big fan of the... But for like an hour, I was kind of like, well, that's fucking stupid. Like, what's the point or whatever? But then once that hour was over and I was done taking my shit, I realized that was actually maybe the best thing that could happen to that franchise. So now I'm actually kind of excited. So I'm done.
All right.
Cool.
Another one that I'm not I guess I'm a little intrigued by just because the trailer was so good was that new Peter Jackson movie, Mortal Engines.
That looks awful. That's not a Peter Jackson film, by the way.
It's not.
They keep
I'm
trying
thinking
to
of
bill it as such.
He did the screenplay. If I
He did. I remember his
he did
name.
something
Here's
with
the
Damn
thing.
it!
They're
I'm just a
basically
fooled
involved
audience
with
member.
that.
They're
Loosely involved
basically
with that.
calling it a quote a Peter Jackson film because of the fact that the guy who directed it has been a lifetime collaborator with Peter Jackson.
Which is fine.
Which, yeah, but
This is a film that the trailer debuted 16 months ago, and it's not a good thing.
the thing,
Yeah, I did see it on TV like a long time ago,
Yes.
and I was like, "Oh, that trailer is really short. I like that."
Never a good thing.
Okay,
the only thing I don't understand is that
I know. You said you don't want to see it, though.
I know, but I just thought I just wanted to
You're
say
hoping.
I just wanted to say that the trailer was good. So
I was intrigued by the trailer. This film has something going for it that no other film has going for it at the current time, because it has Hugo Weaving in it, who he knows the way to my heart. So I should be all in on this, because he's playing the villain in this.
I mean, you're probably going to go see it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
It'll be like my Robin Hood, and your
it will be.
Mortal
Like, I don't
Legend.
want to see this, but
Yeah.
the fact that Mr. Smith is coming back as a different villain, I'm all in for that.
Yeah. No, and the only thing I don't understand though about the trailers is that it's 2018, and we still think that "quote unquote" a Peter Jackson film is some kind of mainstream sell.
Why don't you direct something?
Yeah, or why even put his name on it? Like, I don't understand why they think that that's going to actually boost the film.
When's the last film he actually directed?
The Hobbits, like besides
Oh, he
that,
did.
yeah,
That's
I
right.
think it's
The
meant to
Hobbit.
trick people
Yes.
with like maybe
Well-
like poor reading retention. They'll just like scroll over and they'll see like Peter Jackson's name. It's like, oh, Lord of the Rings. I remember that. Hobbit.
like,
I don't remember
here's the
that.
thing,
And then you'll
though.
sit in and be like, oh, what the fuck? He didn't direct this.
If I didn't see Peter
Getting
Jackson's
butts
name,
and seats.
if I didn't see Peter Jackson's name attached to the film, I might be more interested in it, because I'd be like, even if the trailer doesn't do it for me, I might be like, well, at least here's a new, voice.
But this is the Steven Spielberg syndrome, pretty much, that Hollywood has had for a long time, where he puts his name on it, gets an executive producer credit, and his
Like Judd
fucking name
Apatow
is
in the land of
everywhere.
comedy.
Yes,
Yes.
it's just everywhere over it, and this may have nothing to do with him. So, which I don't necessarily know if that's the case here,
But yeah, I agree.
yeah. So okay, well, thank you for teaching me something, because now that's kind of a bummer that they
Sorry
marketed
we
it like
ruined it
that.
for you.
didn't ruin anything, but I mean,
I like to
just
ruin
like I said, I
things.
thought the trailer was cool.
When myself and Kenny and Nick went to go see Halloween, Kenny said the same thing, and he's like, "I'm really excited to see Mortal Engines, that new Peter Jackson one." Like, he didn't direct. He's like, "The fuck?" Like, yeah. Sorry, dude,
That's
but
funny.
no, he didn't. He sat at home and grew a beard.
Like Tucson, I'm also excited for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I saw Venom, but I didn't stay after to see the long scene they showed, evidently,
You
of the
missed
movie.
It was still a good move.
And I've never seen an animated superhero movie in theaters, so I think I want to see this in theaters. I'm really looking forward to that. And then also, when they showed the trailer for Mary Poppins, I almost cried like
Okay.
a
Mention that.
baby.
I hear you. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, because when they announced it, I was like, you know what? You can't top Julie Andrews. Nothing is better than her. Nothing is better than
I feel
my
like
childhood.
I've heard this in my home before.
Exactly. And then I see this trailer and I'm like, oh man, this looks so good. And they
No.
used 2D animation,
No.
which really sold it to
The
me.
initial trailer that came out a long time ago, I want to say during the Super Bowl, was shit. And the full trailer that came out like 2 months ago was awesome.
Yes.
So
it was the full trailer that I saw. They showed it during the Emmys. I swear that was the trailer I'm thinking of. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm really excited for that."
I mean,
And-
the fact that you have Emily Blunt, who's a fantastic actress, Lin Manuel Miranda, who is obviously one of the more talented people
Mm-hmm.
currently in the theatrical world. And then the fact that you've brought back Dick Van Dyke and Angela Lansbury somehow, and 2D animation, I mean, the whole package just screams
yes.
something's got to be good here.
Absolutely. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to that more than I thought, because when I heard it announced, I was like, no. But now it's completely changed for me. Also, go ahead.
Really quickly.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No.
I keep stepping on everyone's segments.
No, you're not. We're all really
Ow,
excited
my
to talk about
toes.
movies.
Because you're stepping on toes.
I said segments,
Toast?
but that's okay. Toes.
Toes.
And also stepping on toast. Fucking asshole.
Don't you step on my toes.
The scene with the I think it's butterflies that are flying around them, the family and Lin-Manuel Miranda and
I think
Emily
it might
Blunt.
be birds, but
Birds
something
or
flying. It was something.
Incredible.
Yes.
Like to have 2D animation going around people, I mean, that's just next level
It's
shit.
really
That's
cool,
awesome.
especially since a few years ago Disney did shut down their 2D animation studios. So now,
Their
like,
last 2D film was Princess and the Frog, and it was a huge disaster.
right, it didn't go over well. So,
Oh,
and
great.
that's a bummer, because that had a lot of potential and it just didn't resonate.
Also, too, Ben Whishaw is in this, and he's a fantastic under-the-radar actor.
He is, yeah. I like him from the new James Bond movies. I think he's really
great. He also
yeah.
does the voice of Paddington.
Good for him.
Marmalade.
Have you ever seen the Paddington films?
No.
They're both fabulous.
They are.
Do you really think so? Is that sarcastic?
No, they're actually
They're
both really good.
okay.
Fucking amazing.
They're both really
I'm
good.
glad that they're good. I didn't know they were good.
No,
You should definitely seek them
It
out.
doesn't
Cool.
seem like it from the trailer, because actually the trailers for both the films actually suck. But both movies are actually very good.
I think it's hard to sell.
That
for different
is-
reasons, too.
Interesting.
It's,
All
no,
right,
they're
that's awesome.
Fantastic.
They're very good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, and then also, I might be the only person, but I am sticking to my guns. Aquaman.
No, you're not. I am
good,
at least
okay.
excited to see what it is.
You may have not noticed this, but Nick has sort of
Yeah.
become really into comic books.
Really into DC.
DC
I
specifically?
feel like
Yeah.
that's mostly what I've been reading.
He's graduated.
I have.
Oh,
Yeah.
stop it now.
It's true. Yeah.
You
no.
both know the DC shit, right?
Well, who cares?
Well,
Comics are good, and the animated films are good.
The animated.
The animated series
Yeah.
are.
The animated films
I'm
and
exemplary,
series
so.
are great.
I'm
I know.
referring
I know.
to exactly what we
The
talk
live
about
action.
on this podcast.
I know. Yeah. But
No, I'm all with you, but I will say that trailer actually I did enjoy. I enjoyed the parkour for no reason.
If they go all into fish
rooftops.
people attacking each other for the last 30 minutes, I'm game.
Hell yeah! I thought Nicole Kidman looked batshit crazy in a fun way. I thought
I am really surprised that she signed on to a DC property, but good for her.
You know
Good.
what?
I feel right. I mean, yes, that's a very good point.
But still.
But at the same time, I
I feel like
see
she
it.
fits in.
Yes,
DC.
she
DC's
does fit
very
in. I
cold.
see a lot of actors like her who have like really long resumes. They've been on the scene for a while. They've mostly gotten lead roles, and then I see somebody like supposedly Jake Gyllenhaal wanting to be Batman, and I'm like, fuck off, stay away, stay far away,
He
please.
reminds me of a sim.
me move up, me move up, move.
Right? Can you detail that, please? Like, what do you mean?
I mean, so like in the game Sims,
Yeah.
he looks like the second, like Sims 2, because he's got the big
these
eyes.
are specific graphics.
It is because their graphics changed drastically from Sims 1 to Sims 2 to
Oh, they
Sims
did.
3, and then now apparently there's a Sims 4, which
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know there was originally.
well, that's okay.
But he just looks so jovial all the time, and he's got like big eyes, and he just looks like he's ready to be like Doug, you know, like.
Trap him in a fucking like swimming pool with
Yeah.
no fucking ladder.
No diving board. Yeah.
That maybe like every now and then, like if he bumps into something, he'd be like, "Oh," and you know, like he just,
I bet you he does do that in like real life. Oh my god.
that's the thing.
He's such a fucking simpleton.
God damn it, Nick.
But he just has that sort of like appearance of like always being jovial, no matter like what goes wrong, you know, and he just I don't know it. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents in it.
I'm never
in the
gonna
moment.
not think of Jake Gyllenhaal that way.
Right? Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
He's the everyman.
Oh man. I wonder if he thinks sex is like actual whoopee. like
Oh my god.
with emojis and
Dust clouds.
yeah.
And then there's like the soulful like baby making music underneath it. The little pedals that go everywhere.
But anyway, yeah.
Yes, continue. I'm so sorry.
No, don't. That was so funny. Oh my god.
Don't
Yeah,
look at me.
that sim needs to stay away from Batman, is what I'm saying.
Christian Bale will be the next Batman.
Yes.
Bank on it. He'll be back. Christopher Nolan, too.
Oh my god.
I can see Nolan.
Whoa, you got a thing for Christian Bale as Batman.
Yes, he's my favorite Batman.
No.
Did I not tell you this?
It goes deeper than that, I can see.
No.
That's okay.
He's
That's
my
fine.
favorite Batman. I've talked about this.
She was shaking.
Charlize Theron is my favorite Furiosa.
Well,
See? Everybody has a favorite
That's
something.
Christian Bale
Okay.
is actually super good as Batman, and some people disagree on that.
I
but
really
that's
like
okay.
this Batman.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's good as Batman. Christopher Nolan being there doesn't hurt.
Right.
They're going to come back, and that's how DC's going to try to right the ship. Guaranteed. They're
Well,
just going to
Christopher
throw...
Nolan has
They're
never
gonna throw all that
stepped
water off the
away
boat.
from DC.
No, but he's never directed a film.
No,
for
I
them.
mean obviously, but he has actually played, even though Zack Snyder has been given all the credit, which for understandable reasons, for directing the house style of the current iteration. It wouldn't have really happened without Nolan, not just because of what he did on
No, but
his films, but
He's going to be brought in to right the ship.
maybe.
Because that is the simplest answer,
Yeah.
and that's all the DC can figure out.
I can see that, maybe.
We'll see. Aquaman, though, I feel like it's either going to be super fun or horrible.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun either
yeah,
way.
Yeah. Yes.
I hope so, because the Meg was not fun.
No. But that was led by Jason Statham and Rainn Wilson.
Yeah.
At least there are actors in this.
Yeah. That's true.
Just saying.
Amber Heard could be good.
I agree. But
I
mean,
really like
Nicole,
Amber Heard a lot. I'm excited to see her.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. I've loved her ever since the Playboy Club got canceled.
Oh, yeah, I remember
Ever
that.
since it got
on,
canceled, I've
on
loved her.
NBC.
I know. I'm so happy you know what I'm talking about. Nobody... I don't even bring it up anymore.
I am one of the only people, I think, that watched the show about Pan Am, called Pan Am?
Pan Am, yeah, with Christina Ricci and Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah,
was
yes. That was like in like a couple years before Playboy Club, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that was a extremely enjoyable show.
I agree.
It didn't have long legs, just like the airline.
That's the problem with those networks. But anyway, that's another conversation. Also, I didn't remember this until this
Right now.
film came up on this list I'm looking at right now. On the Basis of Sex looks really good.
Bader
Yes,
Ginsburg movie. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
That was a real downer, by the way, as we're recording this on the day that she fell and broke ribs and was into the hospital. It wasn't there for the photo for Judge Kavanaugh's induction. What a shame.
That is a commitment to Shade, to just not be there.
Yes, it is.
She
Yeah.
fell.
Yeah, and that movie is directed by Mimi Leader, who is a outstanding television director who directed a lot of great episodes of The Leftovers.
That is really cool.
That film to me seems like it could be pretty boilerplate.
Yeah, but,
But
she's very
I hope it's
talented.
not.
Right.
No, she is,
Yeah.
and Felicity Jones is a fabulous actress. But at the same time,
Yeah.
from the trailer, it seems like there's a chance it could be very...
For sure.
Yeah. Two things I want to say. I know just really fast before we actually get to the movie.
We're not talking about that.
So Alex had mentioned that this Oscar season might be pretty slow, which I do pretty much agree with. But I'm already making some predictions.
Ooh.
Best original song is going to go to whatever song they pick for A Star Is Born, and best costume design is going to go to Mary Queen of Scots.
I can see that already.
Yeah.
Really...
I feel like that's kind of an easy guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But
But still,
I'm not an expert.
I heard the song from A Star Is Born, Shallow, on the radio the other day, and it freaked me the fuck out. Like, genuinely, I got chills, and not for...
In a good way?
No. I
I
was just kind of pissed off.
It's kind of fucked up. In the
And I don't
middle of
even
it.
mind that song,
It's not a bad song.
but it's not a real song.
That film will be nominated for Best Picture.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So will First Man.
so will Bradley Cooper. By the way, I would put money on that he'll be nominated for Best Director. Not that he would win, but I feel like they're gonna be like, "What? This Southern boy made this movie?"
It seems like Yorgos Lanthimos will be nominated for Best Director,
I don't
and
know.
The
They
Favor
don't-
will be nominated for Best Picture.
They don't like to do
I understand that.
foreign unless you're Mexican, and that's like a. I'm just saying, that's like a border pity vote.
Those are the three films that I'm thinking of off the top of my head that are like a lock to be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Nick is speaking as a jaded award show watcher who knows how the Game of Thrones is played.
So here's the thing about
That's
Nick,
true.
though, because Nick, at
Who's
some
Nick?
level, Nick at some level despises the Oscars, but yet watches it from start to finish every year.
Because he's a committed
I do not
cinephile.
watch it start to finish.
Really?
That's the sad part. Is every year I watch it, and then an hour and a half I like fuck this shit. Like I always have to try. But no, okay. Here's the thing. Growing up, I watched it start to finish, and maybe the last one I did. And like, if I'll go over to like when I went over to your house, like I'll do it for no reason at all.
Well, the last one probably got you because you missed the ending
Yeah.
of the Moonlight
Yeah,
fiasco.
because that time I was over at Sarah's house, and Sam's throwing shit at.
I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
all right.
I got really upset.
I know.
That you missed that.
I know.
You don't
I
have
was
to throw it at me.
I was upset too.
She's still pissed that La La Land did not win Best Picture. That's a good
We
one.
all are, not me. Haha.
Oscar so black.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I have a hard time getting through the entire telecast.
Oh, I could understand that.
Definitely.
Even though now it's easier to do it because now I can fast forward. Like, think about it that way. When I was young, I couldn't fast forward through anything, and yet I was like eating that shit up. Now I can fast forward through things, and I'm just like, why the fuck am I watching this?
Well, the other thing is too. Apparently, they're going to try to shorten it up this year,
They
and
try that every year.
I was
And
going
it
to say,
doesn't
they
mean
make that
anything.
announcement, and then
And
it's
then-
the same producer
Yeah.
who does it every
Yeah.
year, and then he just does the same
Well,
thing.
they-
And they already got rid of Best Popular Film, and I'm very upset about that because I really wanted to see that dumpster fire.
You know,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to see that dumpster fire too.
Yeah.
I did too. They
And the
put the,
Schadenfreude award goes to.
they put the feeler out there, and it got a very negative reaction.
Oh, yes.
And then it was gone, which is fine. I just hope we can have Sylvester Stallone somewhere on there talking about how he should have won instead of the black people.
I'm glad you brought up Tweety Bird.
I know
listen.
you're excited for Creed too.
I was
also.
actually just about to say that's my
Yeah.
one blockbuster that I forgot to mention, but that I'm actually very excited for. So yeah, just wanted to mention that because I love.
So here's the thing about Creed 2.
Yes,
And
it's the sequel to Creed.
sort of, it's a sequel to two films, which is really kind of weird.
That is true.
Because this is,
The robot Rocky movie.
I don't want to say it's uncharted territory, but it kind of is. Because it's a sequel to Creed 2, and it's also a sequel to Rocky 4.
It's like, how do they do that?
I don't know, but you don't see a film very often that's a sequel to two movies at the same time, simultaneously. So, the thing about this, though, that's so fucked up is that it's Apollo Creed's son fighting Ivan Drago's son, and Ivan Drago killed his father, but Rocky beat Ivan. It's, oh man, I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah.
There's a lot there to chew on, actually.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Everybody's coming for revenge against somebody.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm not a Rocky enthusiast,
Mm-hmm.
and yet in the Creed 2 trailer, the one scene, at least the glimpse that we get of Rocky standing next to Ivan Drago, like, I got chills. In a good way. Earlier, I got bad chills. This time, I'm getting good chills.
Mm.
So,
Okay, good to know. I think that movie is actually not going to be good, but I'll go see it.
oh, okay, cool.
So we can go together now. Okay. So, I'm dying. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Stay with us.
Anyone out there in the land of podcasting that wants to tell us here at Film Tank about what they're looking forward to for the rest of 2018 can always feel free to send that on to us at filmtankshow@gmail.com or make an attempt to find us at Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Film Tank Show. Toussaint is dancing again.
No, it's like
don't
it's
know.
like the predator hiding in the foliage. Like, you might find us, but really,
There's bongos.
yeah, we'll be
somewhere.
gone. Yeah. like Donkey Kong.
So today we are talking about Bohemian Rhapsody, the film about Freddie Mercury and the rest of Queen. Directed, sort of, by Bryan Singer, who most people would know from the X-Men films, including the original and X2, and then also Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. And he gave an effort here for a while, and then he was kind of gone, and he was kind of back, and it turned into a whole thing.
He cried about it.
Actually, yeah, I think so.
No, like literally.
Yeah. He did. Yeah.
I'm okay with making fun of him and his mental health because he's used it as a cover-up for sexually abusing people. So
Yeah, I'm not a fan of him.
Same.
I'm not that bad of a person. I'm just that just of a moral sheriff.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair.
Where's your badge?
Ooh.
No. keep it together. Don't
Wow.
do that.
That would
So
be...
take it on my word.
I trust you now, okay?
So the film centers really easily around the chronicles of the years leading up to Queen's legendary appearance at the 1985 Live Aid concert, and stars Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury, also Lucy Boynton as Mary Austin, his wife and friend, for better or worse, and then a bunch of other people most people probably haven't heard of, but there were some people who show up here who people have heard of, included Joseph Mazzello,
Yeah.
who is from the original Jurassic Park. He plays the bass player in
I
here.
think most people know him from
Yeah.
the seminal kids action-adventure film Star Kid.
Nope.
I like Star Kid.
Hell yeah! I
Also-
saw that at the Arcada, which is a very regional specific thing. So for
Yep.
those who are listening from out of state, that is a very old-timey theater.
Also, Aidan Gillen here. He is also in Game of Thrones
And The Wire.
and The Wire.
And The Wire.
And
Fucking
also
yeah.
is in the really bizarre opening scene of The Dark Knight Rises, where he believes
really?
he's captured Bane.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. That was
Yes.
so
He's
cool.
also great in Calvary, by the way.
Yes,
He plays
is.
the asshole surgeon. Anyway.
And also to Mike Myers here in a bizarre role with a beard, which also kind of makes sense for the story content,
Yeah.
especially because of Wayne's World.
Yeah.
And also Tom Hollander, who's a
Tom.
fabulous actor,
Actress.
and a
He
fabulous
can do
actress.
anything. Tom Hollander, though, I'm a fucking fanboy ever since he was in The Loop, the Armando Iannucci political satire. So.
So, why don't we have our guests go first? As they both wanted to be on this episode, and that's what brought us into having
So fight it
5
out.
people on a 4-person podcast, which is awesome because this is a first, and we are excited to have both of you here. So why don't you two go first?
Okay, thank you. Thank you again for including us on this podcast. I know it's a first to have 2 guests. so
I know,
thank
and
you.
especially
Two ladies.
Yes,
two ladies in a film about a gay guy. Yeah, that's,
He's bi.
sure. You bet.
Okay, so I was really excited for this movie.
Oh boy, this sounds like it's going to be a negative review.
Oh no, 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 it isn't.
Oh boy.
So I feel like maybe to some degree you guys can relate to this. I grew up listening to Queen. My parents grew up listening to Queen. I'm pretty sure we have some Queen on vinyl still. Very much like the soundtrack to like pretty much growing up and being around my family and stuff. So like I'm definitely not in the minority. Queen has been iconic. That pretty much goes without saying. I loved this movie. I thought it was really good. There were so many things that like annoyed me a little bit. It was mostly about the directing style, things that I knew Bryan Singer would do, things that I knew that Dexter Fletcher, who thankfully replaced him, made up for that.
And didn't get credited, which is really bizarre.
Yeah,
Because of the
looking for
DGA rules. How disappointing is that?
Yeah, but even so,
I know, I
Joss
agree.
Whedon got a credit on Justice League.
yeah.
You know, just saying.
Weird.
I'm just saying.
Alex Garland didn't get credit for basically directing Dredd, so.
That sucks.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, it felt weird here because of the whole thing surrounding Bryan Singer.
Yes.
And the fact that he's
Because
the
he just
only
doesn't-
person mentioned.
And he doesn't
Exactly.
deserve it.
Exactly. He does not deserve it. So yeah, that was definitely something that made me go, and we all know the history with Bryan Singer, which is unfortunate. But regardless, I thought everything about this movie was good. I loved that the casting, I thought, was pretty much spot on. I liked how there was so much work that was put into specifically Rami Malek acting like Freddie Mercury, and I thought he was amazing. I thought part of the writing was pretty clunky and awkward, but overall I feel like it captured pretty much everything aside from blatant non-truths that were added for drama.
No,
Like,
never.
Straight out of Compton.
and I
like how he also acquired AIDS like 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
Just to make the story better.
I know. Yeah, what that
At least
was
he
really
contracted
awkward.
it, which is a weird thing to say.
No, because there was concerns that it wouldn't even be communicated at all. Because in the pre-release of this, I remember like reading some actual pre-release press that they were going to try to downplay his sexuality, and I think that there was even a interview with Rami Malek that sort of spoke to the point. I didn't read this.
I have a feeling, this is just a feeling, that the scene when they're practicing in the concert hall was added after the original screening.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Because even the doctor scene is no audio.
No.
So even though he's getting a diagnosis, you don't actually get quote unquote confirmation. Which, like tabloid sensationalist wise, like we don't need confirmation. We know. And
Right.
again, also like why can't we hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Also, kind of speaking to the
Really quick,
Yes.
since you're mentioning
Yes.
Rami Malek,
Mm-hmm.
Malik, whatever his name is.
Mr.
So,
Robot.
Mr. Robot.
either way is fine.
Hello, friend.
Technically speaking.
So this film had a very interesting storyline as it went from the beginning parts of casting till the final product, as Sacha Baron Cohen was originally supposed to be Freddie Mercury. And although he very much looks like him and definitely could hit some of the mannerisms, I think they went the right direction. But Anna, since you love the casting so much, do you feel like this film could have happened with Borat as the main character?
I feel like this movie could have happened with Borat, but we would not have gotten the same end results, of course. And I think the reasoning is...
And it would have been not as good?
That's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, my
because
biggest...
I don't know. I really like the idea of Sacha Baron Cohen being Freddie Mercury. I think he could pull it off really, really good, but I don't know if he would be able to pull it off the same way as Rami Malek could. And I generally did like the direction that this film took. I know Sacha Baron Cohen really, really wanted to focus much more on the personal life of Freddie Mercury, and
Which
like
I think actually a lot of people who saw the film probably felt the same way.
right, yeah. And also something to keep in mind, this movie was PG-13. If this movie was rated R, we would have gotten way more of that, especially if Sacha Baron Cohen was Freddie Mercury.
I did
So
not notice
I would have
that.
liked to see this movie, but I'm glad I got this one.
Okay.
So that's how I feel. But in general, I loved this movie. As soon as I left the theater, I was like, I want to buy this on DVD and watch it all the time, which I never ever think about anything, ever. Not even like any superhero movie I've ever seen. Like, I just really liked it. I
You
like
just
this movie
wanted
a
to
lot.
cry about Infinity War.
Exactly. I just wanted. So I didn't really want to like.
Also, just read that the initial cut of the second Infinity War film is over 3 hours.
Can't wait. Gotta pack some snacks.
Yeah. That's a good plan.
Yes.
Hopefully there's an intermission.
Can't wait. But yes, I really liked this movie. I thought the casting was on point. I like when you look at comparison pictures of original Queen and this cast, they did a great job. Yeah, I really liked it. There's only technical things I can really complain about. But I really liked this movie overall. I was so happy.
Awesome. Good stuff. Sam?
I have to echo quite a few of the things that you've mentioned as well, Anna. One in particular is the casting. I think something that definitely stood out to me was how the cast just looked so much like the people themselves. And that was really nice to see because I was a little bit nervous. And to kind of speak to that too of like the costuming and the era and things like that without it being outrageous, because oftentimes when people think 80s or they think of like that particular genre, it always goes to like super crazy eyeshadows and outrageous things, and yet the people who actually lived during the 80s, not myself, but like my parents like have talked about it and they're like, it's not nearly like that disturbing of a scene to see. It's a lot more like this. And so to see that kind of echoed in the costuming and even in the decor, definitely brought more of a realistic feel. And it felt a little bit more like a docuseries or like part of like a biopic or something like that versus some sort of like grandiose like feature on some random like offbeat path. I think one of the things that bothered me was just storyline progress, I guess. And something that I kept thinking about after watching it, too, was at many points it felt like it was just like a live concert that I was watching.
Yeah, I got that vibe, too. It gave me echoes of Purple Rain almost a little bit in that, like, it's supposed to be the kid who's performing, but we know it's Prince. That's Prince performing songs for the album Purple Rain. So I'm just,
And it, not that I don't mind concerts. I absolutely love concerts. I go to them frequently.
Not in the theater when you're watching a film.
Correct.
Have you ever seen Stop Making Sense?
I have not.
It's a good...
You would love it.
It's a great movie. It's great.
Okay.
That's the Talking Heads concert.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw it at the Music Box. It was a transcendent experience.
Ooh.
Whoa.
I mean that. Like, it was one of the best theater experiences
I
I've
wouldn't
ever had.
disagree with you.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. And not that I don't mind, like, live productions or things like that. I absolutely love live theater. I was part of it for a while. But that sort of, I felt like at a couple of times I was only just, like, watching a concert. Which I love Queen's music, so I mean I had no issues with it. But I was just more curious to whether or not there was a true thread that we were supposed to be following, or if it was meant to be sort of a kind of like a collection of moments and things like that in which Queen grew, or they sort of like fell apart, or Freddie himself. There was something just, and I know we had talked about this a little bit earlier as like a little group as well, but that sort of blend between, is this a Freddie Mercury kind of biography-ishy documentary thing?
I felt that
or
too.
Is this more about Queen themselves? And at a lot of moments it felt like they really desperately tried to bring it back to the band, but you could definitely tell that there was so much more emphasis on Freddie Mercury himself.
That's so reflected in the actual substance of the story itself, when it just like it's trying so hard to just get away from the band, but it's just like, no, it has to be about the band. And it's literally written into the actual story.
Yeah, and I don't know how much is real and not real about the storyline. Is this the
real life?
That was beautiful.
Is this?
It's also very interesting to me that every single one of the other band members comes up with one of the major songs at some point throughout the film.
Yeah, that seems very
that's
pointed.
That's designed by committee.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's actually probably not how it went at all.
But I do think Roger Taylor really did write the hit "I'm in Love with My Car."
That's probably true.
I'm not surprised.
But at the same time, when and Nick brought this up when we and him were discussing it after the film, when we were both drinking two beverages because that's what we like doing. Yes, that the fact that there are multiple times when all the band members are fighting, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, and then doom, 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 doom. Oh, cool.
What's that?
What? Yeah, no.
The music brings us back together.
Oh my God, is that a hit? Yeah, it was a little
Felt a little
Very mythic.
silly.
It's very
Yeah.
mythic.
Yes.
That component of the story is what I think bothered me.
It should.
Like that sort of choppiness of, like, hey, look, we're doing your typical storylines.
How about even when Freddie meets them initially by the back of the van, and he's like telling them, "Oh, I'm sorry, your singer's just left. I'm the best singer you've ever met in your entire lives."
I don't believe you.
Not with those teeth.
Do you know why I'm so good? Because I have 2 teeth, and I have more octaves. Ha 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 ha.
Really,
It's like, wait a minute.
really
what?
quickly, if you compare this to another movie in its genre from, I would say, this comparable era, like Walk the Line, which is the biopic about Johnny Cash, even that movie has the, I think, monumental scene that's actually good, where Johnny Cash sings Folsom Prison or Walk the Line. I can't remember which one because it's been like a decade. But he sings another song before that song for the record executive because he thinks that's what would sell more. So there's even those kind of like I would say valuable mistakes that an artist can make on the road to success instead of this. I just thought of this bass riff, and anyway.
Yeah. That, I think that's the major component that bothered me the most about it. As I just have random.
Yeah, no,
gestures,
there's she.
Our house
That was an octagon.
It
Damn.
definitely was. Yeah.
in
come
the
on
middle of our street.
There was an
House.
octagon and a butt at the same time. Well done, Nick.
Thank you.
Yes. So other than that, I thought that there was some very interesting touches director-wise to it, and even some of the choices for like ways to tell a story and things like that. So I mean, I absolutely adored this film. Unlike one of my coworkers who cried for multiple different points within the film, I did not do any of that. And I had asked her how into Queen she is, and she goes, "I love them. I'm a huge fan." And I was like, "Oh, so how much do you know about them?" And she's like, "Just their greatest hits." So
That's kind of the power of Queen in that way.
Well-
Like, you don't need to know a lot about them. It's just like their
Yeah.
song has really their music has really just seeped into the cultural consciousness. Like, I was not born or raised anywhere within the proximity of like any Queen fandom, but fuck yeah, I can turn up for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right.
All of their hits happened before anybody at this table was alive.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. But still,
Speak for yourself.
we're
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, I wasn't alive, but still.
But you-
Like I said,
that's-
anyone at this table.
and
Oh, that's
I-
what you said.
I think that's a very good point, though, Tucson, is that there's something, and I think that's why, like, speaking with the one coworker about that, I think there's something to be said, even in general, of why this film even came into creation, and something about, I think there's a power in it, even if it's not entirely truthful in any sort of way, or if there's some things that maybe are difficult for someone to swallow about the storylines and things like that. No matter what, at the end of the day, you could tell that everyone, even in the theater and even afterward, was still vibing to the music. And that there's something about that ability to do that. And I think that is what I enjoyed about the film the most, is that ability to capture how much of an impact they have had, just in the music world in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, are you...
I'm good. So
You're good?
Floor is open for one of the gentlemen.
Do you want
yeah.
to?
Please go, and then
I'll go first, just because it'll be quick.
yeah.
2 hours later.
2 hours later.
Nick loved the film.
Oh my
That's all I
god.
gotta
Okay,
say.
I need to share like a really quick story about
Please
that meme.
do.
My former coworker has
Yes.
a young toddler, and she's always sharing pictures on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
She shared that still of 2 hours later, and then it was like her son just bundled up in layers and layers of winter clothes, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, me when I'm a mom.
I gotta say
You hated this movie.
that this movie did not do a lot for me.
That's fair.
I'm glad. No,
That was a very slow build up to that.
thank you. I'm genuinely glad both of you are here today, Anna and Sam. Not you, Alex and Toussaint.
Thanks, buddy.
Anytime, because
You guys are out, we're in.
yes, right.
That's fine.
Welcome to Film Tank, baby.
That's fine. I'll
Get out of my house.
We just got 33% more white, but 66% more female.
Okay.
That's the math because
do
there's
you-
3.
That's fine.
Do you think I'm not white?
Oh, wow. No, I think...
I'm kidding.
No. Because I'm white, so yeah, that's fine.
I'm half white.
I mostly make those jokes. To
No
make
one
fun of
thinks you're
Tucson.
half white,
Well, thank you,
Tucson.
friend. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Tucson is all black.
That's
Continue.
completely
No matter what he wants to keep
understandable.
telling
I
himself.
should be called out on my shit.
You
Wait,
should be.
What are you saying?
Continue, Nick.
Oh, thank you. Are we done with this though?
Toussaint wants to get to his point, so he wants you to
no.
Well, I want to
speed it
hear. I
up.
want to hear what you're. Yeah, I
So
wanna hear your
here's
plan.
the thing. I want to say this really quickly.
Yes.
Toussaint has allowed his cap that he's wearing to slowly work its way up his head, which is great because he's giving off a Joe Pesci from Home Alone vibe right now.
That's actually
amazing.
true.
I wasn't even aware of that. Oh my god.
Okay. I saw this movie with Alex,
Yes.
my trusty comrade. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say. I thought this was shit.
I was there too,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's fine.
Oh shit! I genuinely okay.
Oh, he actually
Wow, he
forgot
just
about that.
he just cursed
It's fine.
I didn't
get
forget about it. I forgot.
It's fine.
No, it's not fine.
I just eternally
You were there.
sunshined you out of my memory.
Your
She-
significant
that-
other was there, and so now I
That was
feel-
the
I forgot
angriest "It's
2
fine" I've
people.
heard in a long time. It seriously sounded like Lucy in an episode.
Hold
It's
on.
fine, Ricky.
Hold on. Here's the thing: is I have flashbacks of seeing this movie, not to the movie, but to the after dinner drinks that me and
yeah.
Alex got
Okay.
by
May have
ourselves,
done that.
I know.
where I shit
You
on the
know. You know.
So
I know what that I know means.
so it's less you and it's more me and anyway.
Me too.
Yes, you too. I got to admit I like Queen.
Yeah.
I love their music.
Yeah.
A Night at the Opera is one of my favorite albums of all time. Lays It on a Sunday, by the way, is one of the most underrated songs ever.
I'll listen to that later tonight.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
And so is I forget the name of it, but I think it's 31 or 50. I forget. It's the number song.
Yeah. The number song.
Whatever has a number in the title,
Yeah.
that's a good song too. Anyway, but no, I love their music. I absolutely think that a story of Freddie Mercury on screen, whether embellished or not, would be riveting and extremely essential to today's times, or even in future or past, whatever. But I don't think this was the film that did it for me. I'm with Anna in the sense that I like every time they were performing music, I was digging it. Like I liked.
Oh no! I know for a
Well,
fact.
there was one
There
time.
was one time when
There
you
was.
were not digging it.
That is true.
And you and me were on the same page for
That
it
is true.
because we giggled to each other in the
We
theater.
did, and it had nothing to do with the music. It had everything to do with what was happening on screen. I can't remember what song it was though.
I don't know. It was when they were performing early on when they had just reached fame.
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean
most part.
they were doing their tour.
And they were going on the tour, and all the cities that they played were flashing.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
that was
that's
corny.
super
That's corny
80s,
as fuck.
like-
No,
oh,
that
yeah.
was one of the stupidest things I've seen.
That
That
wasn't
was-
even 80s.
That
Like
was
that was
bad.
like somebody who
70s?
No, I mean like
doesn't
it was
even-
somebody who like
It's
doesn't
not even
know
time
the
determinate.
80s.
It's just
Right.
done.
Like
yeah,
that
and
was
just, and
that
just
was
heard
something
that the '80s had garish colors, and therefore this is what they must have done.
that was something that I feel like the band had to say. We need to put in every single place we played on the tour.
Yeah.
On screen. So hey, we're going to have 32 graphics flying towards the screen. It was so stupid.
Not gonna lie, if Rami Malek didn't say Chicago, or if it didn't appear on the screen, I would have been pissed. So it worked.
That's fine. They also had
Signed by
places
committee.
like San Antonio and
Well,
Detroit.
before
I mean,
this, before this entire montage, we were also treated to one of the greatest intertitles that I've ever seen in any blockbuster or any movie to begin with, which is Midwest USA.
Yes.
We don't need to know where they are. They're in the fucking
You
Midwest.
see the corn, they're in the Midwest.
Yeah,
This is the water. This is the well.
yeah.
They also here's a problem I will say about an early part of this film, and that is the record executive and the band arguing over two singles that ended up being popular songs. Be
Yeah.
like, no, I want this to be the single. No, this is the single. It's going to be the single.
Whoa.
And you know what? The reality is that is just a band patting themselves in the back, in my opinion.
Oh, here's the thing.
And-
I'm with you, but those scenes didn't bother me as much as other scenes of like. Well, I'll get into that a little bit later.
That's fine. That particular
I agree that
scene
that problem
felt
is present.
extraordinarily gratuitous.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't mind it because it was Mike Myers, which I never thought I would say, but because that was a kind of actually.
Mike Myers, who is actually doing a Joel Edgerton impression, because I was thinking, I was like, is that Joel Edgerton with mutton chops? What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not, but I actually thought that stupid bit of inside casting was actually kind of funny. Like the fact, Mike Myers just talked about this on the Late Show with Colbert, where he got the offer to be the record executive that got to say no to Bohemian Rhapsody, and just hearing that alone, he agreed to it. He didn't need to read a script,
But
which
that's because the filmmakers from Wayne's World did not want Bohemian Rhapsody to be the song
yes,
they were listening
he
to.
very famously argued with Lord Michaels that Wayne's World in that car scene had to have Bohemian Rhapsody, and they kept saying apparently that they wanted Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle. And he was like, that's a great song. I like that song too. But he goes, in my own upbringing, when I was in like high school and whatnot, and I used to drive around, he goes, I drove around and we did that to Bohemian Rhapsody, and literally he has the anecdote. It's a kind of a stupid clip, but I actually recommend people watch it. But he tells the anecdote about how like everybody in the car had their own Galileo, and if you stepped on somebody else's Galileo, that was fucking turf war. And it was just
Also, too, that of a silly SNL film.
yeah.
That is a iconic scene in
Absolutely.
the original Wayne's World.
Like, I don't know that I could ever sit through the entire movie again, because I don't really love Wayne's World, but I absolutely love that scene, and have memories of watching
especially
it.
driving through Aurora, Illinois.
Yeah,
where we lived
I mean,
back.
that's kind of, I go to the Aurora Casino on a, not, I should clarify, I go to the Aurora Casino because I have Broadway tickets to the Aurora Paramount Theater,
Okay,
which is across the street, and I do free valet parking at the casino anyway.
When I interned for the Aurora Public Television Network, you
Yeah.
can imagine how many times I heard about
Oh, yeah.
Wayne's World.
Absolutely. And that casino though has their car and everything, and it's adorable. But so I was totally on board with that scene just because of that stupid superficial reason. But I gotta say before I pass it off that I think this movie mostly fails because what Sam pretty much alluded to is that it is caught between. Clearly, this is written by people who survived Freddie Mercury, who are contractually obligated to make a Freddie Mercury movie, but
Without titling it solely about him.
yes, and having to try to quote-unquote fight for their own place in history. And I'm not saying that, whatever their fucking names are, which...
I mean, that says it all, right?
I'm sorry,
Right?
but
No, it's
I'm
true.
genuinely saying that they did contribute, but I'm not going to pretend that they had the same stature as Freddie Mercury because that's fucking ludicrous.
I will say, here's the fucked up thing about Queen.
Yes.
They perform currently, and obviously because of contractual reasons, they have to bring the singer's name into it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying when Queen with Adam Levine performs, there are people who
Are you talking
going to
about
see
Adam
it.
Lambert?
Adam Lambert.
I'm so sorry.
Yes. You said that the other day, and I was genuinely curious if Adam Levine was, like,
No.
performing
So,
with them.
we're-
But yes.
I'm at a payphone.
That's fine. At any rate, I could totally see it. By the way, at any
shit.
rate, Queen with Adam Lambert. People are going to see that because of Adam Lambert. I think.
Which I think is actually understandable.
Yes.
Because he does a good Freddie Mercury impression.
Sure. But
Like, no one's going to see that because they're like, oh, at least they have the original basis.
yes, and I guess that's what I'm getting at is that no
Yeah.
one gives a fuck that they're
Absolutely.
still in the band. They want to see them with Adam Lambert.
And I would have
And
totally
boy,
been on...
I feel like a penis. So
Yeah.
I'm
I would have
sorry.
been on board with a movie that tried to, shall we say, shade in those characters of the band members on the fringe. But this is a movie in which we are treated to multiple scenes of the other band members knowing better than Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the movie, the emotional climax comes when Freddie has to grovel to them. And putting aside whether I personally agree with Freddie's, let's just say in the movie, decision, his lifestyle.
There's nowhere that scene ever took place.
There's no way that scene took place in that context, in that way, or whatever. And even if it did, I don't see why it should have had to, because no offense, but they didn't become Queen because of the three of them.
In real life, though, there was no practicing to get back. They were on tour before Live Aid happened.
I mean, there's a lot of that here. I mean, the band getting mad at him because he's going to go solo makes no sense, because in real life, at least a couple of them had already gone solo before Freddie went solo, so it makes no sense as
This
to
is
why they
also
would
true.
frame it that way.
Please bring up your best thought about this, which is Freddie Mercury's
Yeah.
In the Rain conversation
Oh, yes.
where
That-
he is feeling like a sore puppy dog
Yes.
because nobody told him about Live
So
Aid.
yeah, that conversation makes no sense to me, because he talks about Live Aid like he's already watched the televisual performance of Live Aid. He literally says, "Why didn't you tell me about Live Aid?" Which is something that somebody only says if they fucking are in Back to the Future and they already know what Live Aid is going to be in
Marty,
their legacy.
why didn't you tell me about Live Aid, Marty?
Yeah.
He literally heard the name Live Aid for the first time
Yeah.
4 minutes earlier.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, that was fucking stupid. And one other thing I'll say, and then I'll pass it off, is that honestly, the Bohemian Rhapsody as a title is very misleading, because A, it has really nothing to do with the song. I mean, I know it's Queen's song, but whatever. And B, it's indicative of two things. It's one, indicative of the fact that they couldn't decide whether they wanted to call it a Freddie Mercury movie or a Queen movie. And two, I think it sidesteps the fact that they weren't going to call it what I'm sure is the original title, which is Queen, the Freddie Mercury story, How I Learned to Get AIDS and Stop Being an Asshole. Because that's kind of what
That's
his
the
three...
title I was rooting for.
Yeah, but that's what the three band members clearly think about Freddie, if we are to take this movie on its face value, which is that thank God he got AIDS, because otherwise he would not have been a good person in the end.
That's a take.
Here's the other thing.
That's a take.
I'm reading the movie. I'm not even
Warm
bringing...
take.
Here's the other thing about
done.
that. Okay, you've been rambling for 15 minutes now, but that's okay. Here's the other thing. This film acts about Freddie Mercury having AIDS like they were all aware about what the AIDS epidemic was at the time.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird, because they're acting as if they have 20 years of knowledge
True.
at the time,
Yeah.
which did not happen at that time in the 80s. Like, it was like an explosion of having no idea what's going on, where they're acting like they know exactly what's happening and why it's happening, and
The White House press secretary treated it like a joke until,
It must fucking suck that Freddie Mercury had to watch a news report on AIDS the day before he was diagnosed. The moment he tells his bandmates that he has it though, and then the movie has to dial back what it already did, and
how'd you feel about the scene where he was walking back from the doctor's office and there was the guy who was obviously had AIDS and he was like, "Ayo."
Yeah, why are they doing the banana song?
That was weird to me.
Well,
I mean, I know it
yeah.
was, but still.
But at the same time,
No, because he did that at the opening
Oh, I
of the
know.
Live Aid thing.
Yeah.
It was like, "Ayo, ayo." Yeah.
but at the same
That's
time,
where he got the idea.
it felt so self-serving to me,
Okay.
like a little bit ridiculous.
Can I also bop
Yeah.
in here for a moment?
Bop away.
Bop it, pull it, twist
to
it.
kind of go off of
Don't do
that.
any of those.
One of the where he brings Jim to his parents' house.
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't happen.
That
No
He
way.
he gets together with
No.
his partner on the morning of Live Aid.
well, and that all of a sudden, boom, they're partners.
That's
like
fucking
even
creepy.
after all this time, like
Yeah.
that.
That's a
even-
movie- that's movie logic.
And the parents are cool with it.
Yeah, I leave.
Sight unseen.
So when that scene occurred, because all of a sudden he's visiting Jim at his place, and then all of a sudden, you're cutting to him sitting with Jim, and they're holding hands like
Hey,
in the.
I just met you, and this is
basically,
crazy. But meet my parents and fucking help my baby.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
one version.
That was morbid.
I really didn't see that coming.
Me
okay.
neither.
Yeah, okay,
Nightmares.
There need to be more scenes with Jim to make that final scene pay off.
I agree
There needed
because
to be a movie
Had
with
to be.
Jim.
I agree because the first time we meet Jim, Freddy's like, "What's your name?" and he goes, "Jim Hutton." First of all, he could have just said Jim, but no,
Correct.
it was Jim Hutton. And then as soon as
Jim
he
Hunt.
said,
I just read the
as-
Wikipedia page. I'm your future spouse.
Unfortunately,
Damn it,
I feel like
Nick.
a little bit. Yeah. No,
sorry.
I think Nick's
Actually,
right
that was
here.
a couple months ago where I read the entire Wikipedia page about Freddie Mercury. But anyway, so basically, as soon as they said Jim Hutton, I turned to my boyfriend and I was like, I think that's the guy he ends up with at the end of his life. That's that guy. So I was like, I knew they were going to loop back.
Right.
So when I watched that, and then, like you're describing, it happens very fast, the day of Live Aid, etc. And I'm just like,
I'm being a
not great.
I'm-
Not a great
it's-
setup.
See, here's
How
the
did
thing.
you know that? Did you read the script?
God damn it!
Sorry.
You weren't
How
even
did I know that
participating
was
in this
his name? Was this
conversation.
really-
No, I know. I was just making a joke. Sorry.
Here, here's the problem. I'm being a little bit of an asshole here because I earlier in our podcast this year took a hard stance on Boots Riley's feelings on Black Klansman. So I need to back off a little bit because films need to have a little bit of leniency about taking stories and combining them together because that's just how a different medium other than real life or text works. The reality is that it needs to be a little bit more condensed. At the same time, there are way too many things in this film that just land too perfectly right in this film's runtime.
What makes them, I would say, not work is that if you don't know the history of Queen, you could still be clued in on to what seems fabricated. And if that's the case, then I think you've ultimately not done a good thing.
So, I'm sorry, I'm coughing like a mad person because I have a little bit of cold.
You're
But
mad.
I'm going to steal the baton from Dusan because I'm going to go next and give my opening remarks, even though we're probably not going to get into much discussion here because we've already been talking about it for the last 45 minutes. But at the same time, I thought this film was actually pretty mediocre. And I say that as someone who thought a lot of the parts from the very beginning until about an hour and 40 minutes into this film felt very fabricated and at the same time felt replaceable. That being said, this film has the second best scene I've seen in any film this year other than the Al Pacino Paterno film. But that being said,
I'm sorry, really quickly, what scene is that?
in this film or
No,
in Paterno?
in Paterno.
The opening scene in Paterno is fabulous.
Just curious.
Fantastic. you watched it with me, and I think you liked it.
Oh, I've seen it
almost
twice now.
You have?
I rewatched it.
You did?
And I enjoy it. So I just wanted to know which scene. So yeah.
Do you like that at first scene or not?
Are you just talking about the overall, like, kind of not montage, but the prologue of the game?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I
It's
agree.
perfect into the story.
I would say so.
Anyways, I will say the finale of this film fits in perfectly for what this film is trying to do, and also lands perfectly as a Gus Van Sant type of storytelling, which is completely just recreating what their Live Aid performance was. Which this film was over the top on details of their Live Aid performance, which I have watched now in the days since. And unbelievably, down to the placement of the Pepsi cups and beer on the piano that Freddie Mercury is playing at the beginning of the Live Aid performance, they hit the details of their performance to a T and showed actually almost all of their Live Aid performance for the last 22 minutes or so of this film. I will say that scene was fucking awesome because it is just taking something that people loved and is honestly one of the more iconic rock performances in the last 40 years, and it is showing it to the audience with a different take and with characters who you've seen previously in the film, and it just works perfectly to me. That being said, the rest of the film is very underwhelming because it's just like the greatest hits of a band who you kind of know. And also, I feel like this film takes a very, I don't want to say like rudimentary look at Freddie Mercury, but this film looks at Freddie Mercury from, they just read the highlights of his life and then just put it into a film.
They just took the Wikipedia page and then put and then between it.
That's a nice Doers My Car take on it, but you're probably right.
Yeah.
And we only, I would say, scrutinize the more public perception of Freddie Mercury instead of even, like, I'm sorry, but I would rather a script try to, even if it has to guess, but guess more about his private life. There are more scenes devoted to his heterosexual closet nature than his actual homosexuality.
Well, the other thing is that his scenes with his family seem so just boilerplate to me.
Which is too bad because that's one of the more interesting things about Freddie Mercury, which is not to try to indulge in like otherism or like xenophobia. I don't know, but the fact that he became a rock god despite the fact that he came from a cultural background that he clearly didn't try to, I wouldn't say ran away from, but did not
embrace.
mind. Yeah,
I want to talk a little bit about
like
that.
that's fascinating, but that's barely.
My thing. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that I'll end my opening remarks, and again, we're probably not going to talk much more about this film other than opening remarks and our closing remarks, but Rami Malek gives a fucking awesome performance in this as Freddie Mercury, and it's too bad because I wish we had a better film with his performance because I think that could have been so much better. And I don't have much more to say about this film other than that because I think that there were so many wasted parts of this film, but the final performance was phenomenal in this movie, and I can't take anything away from it because it was awesome to see that recreated. And even though the CGI of the Wembley Stadium crowd was a little everything about it just was magical in my opinion. So highs and lows here for me on a very meh film.
Okay, so I wasn't necessarily excited to go see this film. I probably wouldn't have gone to see it had we not been organizing an episode around it. Got a lot of other shit to do. But I carved out time to be able to go see this film because I had read enough about it and, I was curious to see what it would be. So I was kind of like already very lukewarm just from the jump, just seeing like what this was going to be. It's like, it's going to be another perfunctory sort of greatest hits film like what Alex was saying, right? Mm-hmm. And I felt that way from the beginning all the way into the middle, and then somewhere with it was just like, I don't know, I just was a little bit won over by it, and I don't know, I'm still of two minds about this film. I did enjoy it. I can't say that I did not enjoy this film, but what I want to some of the things that I want to address is, like, Nick, your point about how Freddie Mercury's past and how it seems like he was trying to, like, run away from it.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about Queen before going this. I knew about their music. I did not know that his original name was Farouk. I did not know that he was Parsi. I did not know that he was born in Tanzania. And what was there were a couple of moments where, like, there was a knot in my throat that I felt like something really actually, like, emotionally hit home for me. And one of them was when Freddie was debating with the EMI guy about having Bohemian Rhapsody as the actual, like, thing, and he was just, like, spouting off some, like, casually racist shit about it, and he was like, what the fuck is this, like, Bismillah? And he's like, Bismillah. And that kind of, like, really, that feels like a significant moment, because it's this guy who changed his name legally, went to no end to just, like, walk away from his past, and he manages to have something that is, like, Bismillah means, like, all praise due to, like, God the highest and holy, and it's just like, that's something that's deeply from his own culture where he came from that you would run away from, and that would be the thing that you would sort of, like, put into what is at that point one of your biggest songs, one of your greatest creative efforts, and it somehow comes home into, like, saying, like, I still love my mom and I still love my dad, no matter how much I try to run away from it. And another point that kind of, like, put a knot in my throat is when he's having his conversation with his wife, like, across through the windows and stuff, and he says, like, get a drink, and she doesn't get a drink, and it just kind of, like, it really hurt my heart to, like, see that girl, that woman,
that was a great scene.
who does love this man, but knows that she cannot be. And he cannot be what she needs.
It was extremely performative.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know inherently that she didn't grab a drink.
Yeah, exactly.
So for them to literally connect about an agreed upon lie.
You're right, yeah.
Is just fucking fantastic.
And yeah, it's like those moments for me were powerful, and I thought that was really interesting. Other than that, it does feel like, kind of circling back to something that I mentioned before, it feels like a myth. This film is a myth in that it's trying to abbreviate and, like, truncate, like, some of the more complicated and unwieldy ends of this story, and basically weave it into, like, this both creation, death, and transcendent myth about Freddie Mercury and Queen at large. And I don't know, that's not the film. I'm not going to be the kind of critic who I'm going to say is like, I wanted this film to be something else and therefore I hate it. I think that for what this film is, I just think that it is not what it could have been. Mm-hmm. It focuses way too much on Mercury, and I understand that he's like the bright star which Queen sort of orbits in a lot of ways, especially in the public perception of them. We've already made jokes that we don't remember the names of any of the other members of Queen, and I feel like this could have been a chance to sort of rectify that. But even then, this is... I feel like I wanted to see...
Which is interesting because I actually have the opposite reaction where I wanted this to be more about...
Yeah. I mean, either make a Freddie Mercury film or make a Queen movie, and just like...
It focuses on Freddie Mercury only to shortchange him. I mean, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a trapdoor type thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this is our quote-unquote protagonist. This is the legend you went and saw. But by the end of it, it's like, oh, do you still idolize him?
There is one moment where there's something else that I really liked, like his the guy who was trying to make him break up with the band and basically strike out on his own and basically like cultivate him and like separate Paul.
Fucking Paul.
So the thing when they have their standoff with one another in the rain,
who just invites leather daddies over for no real reason.
Yeah, that moment I was like,
he seems like
I have nothing against this.
He seems like the kind of guy who's like, that's just sort of the culture that they orbit around. And it's just
absolutely.
Like, it's a revolving door.
But that seemed like
that's facilitated
Freddie,
by him.
I need to interrupt your personal growth with a bunch of leather daddies.
Yeah, but what really cemented it for me, like I already did not like this guy, but what I knew that I was like, okay, this next scene has to have him leaving this guy, or else I might just walk out of this film because I cannot handle that. Is when he asked, like, the 20-year prescient question, why didn't you tell me about Live Aid? And he's like, oh, I did tell you. You know how you're always forgetting things? Like, you are gaslighting this dude. You are gaslighting him, and he needs to recognize that and walk out. Because if he doesn't, like, I just can't watch the rest of this fucking film.
Also, he fucked over the manager, which was really bizarre.
Yeah.
See, that Paul thing makes me very uncomfortable because of the fact that if there is a Paul, and I genuinely don't know if there is a Paul, I think there is, just as far as, like, in real life, there was a Paul. If he existed in any way in the same capacity in this movie, as far as being somewhat more friendly to Freddy than just being a business partner, it is extremely gross that this movie is written by people who are not Freddy, who, in my opinion, are emphasizing certain characteristics in private conversation they would not have been privy to
In order to paint him, or order to render him as the antagonist.
And
of
I'm
the
not
story.
saying that Paul didn't have ulterior motives in real life. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But man, does this movie, as written by the surviving members of Queen, make it kind of seem like they have a fucking bone to pick, whether it's realistic or not.
If it is any reconciliation,
Yes.
something that definitely did not happen in real life is that television interview that the Paul character gave.
Yeah, that was one of the worst.
Yes, that never
was like,
happened. So yeah,
Who's
Paul
that
sucks.
big of a dick to go on television and be like, you know what? This one guy that I was sort of seeing, who, by the way, is a homosexual and has AIDS, is so fucked up as a person that he has these mental health problems that I really want to.
That was
fucking.
That was a
like,
time. Well, I would like to say that was a time where people could get away with flogging or
I feel like even Merv Griffith would have been like, get the
flagellating
fuck
somebody
out
for
of
that,
here.
and harming them in public. But we also know that same stigma and that same sort of exhibitionism has not left us.
No, I just meant that weird 1-to-1 ratio of like, I'm gonna go on television just that. That whole. Whatever.
I thought that the. Okay, I'm gonna try to end off my
was
comments
gonna
with
say-
one last.
And when you do, why don't you go into your final rating?
Okay, my final rating. Okay, here it is.
We've talked a lot about this
I
film
know.
already.
Yeah,
so
it's
let's-
fine. So here's something that happened. When the credits were rolling on this film, I usually just get up and I leave because I don't stay for the credits. I know I'm an awful cinephile. I have respect for the people who make films. I really care. By the way, did you get the teaser in the beginning where Rami Malek is like, a lot of people get together and make films, okay?
That was great.
Yeah, I'm just like, is that contractually obligated?
Oh yes.
If anybody saw The Greatest Showman, I heard that they did something
Yeah, they did it
similar.
there. Yeah, Hugh Jackman did it, but the difference is Hugh Jackman is charming.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely think Rami Malek is a fantastic actor.
I genuinely think that he is Elliot Anderson in real life.
But like when he's contractually obligated to be quote unquote Rami Malek, oh boy,
Yeah.
he is E.T.
Now that's a sin. Anyway, so when I was getting up and I was about to leave, and
get off.
the "Don't Stop Me Now"
I won't.
concert video came on, like I genuinely had to stop and like
Even though they said don't stop me now.
and look back and like actually watch it. And it's like there was just something really entrancing about it, and like I watched it until like the credits rolled through it, and it's like it's like I think that this is I think it's a competent film, and I really enjoyed it. My barber, who I visited before,
I went to the movie with.
No, my barber, who I saw the day before I went to go see this movie, or I went to go see him yesterday. We were talking about it because his son is actually a fan of Queen and Aerosmith and a lot of stuff because he got that from his grandfather. And like he was like, "Are you going to let him watch this?" I was like, "I'm going to probably have to watch this film before and maybe have
I'm
him."
assuming his son is young.
His son is 8.
Okay.
So it was like maybe like wait a couple of years for him to see it because Queen is like his favorite band now. But it's just like we'll
It
see.
was pretty tame though. I will
Yeah.
admit.
Yeah.
In a good way. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for my final rating on this, I'm just gonna say I did like this film. I would recommend this film. I don't think that it is a good film, but I can't deny that I liked it. So I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 5.
All right.
We'll make our way back through the. Yep. I'm coughing like no one's business. I'm really sorry about that. So, I'm so sorry. I gave this film a 2.5 out of 5 because I loved the final scene, and I think this film was very okay throughout. But at the same time, I think there was a lot better that could be done with this movie. There were scenes that were very bizarre to me that I thought were just mediocre. And there were also the final scene and other scenes throughout this that were sprinkled in that I thought were also very good. So it was right down the middle with a 2.5 out of 5.
I'm gonna go even further and say that I unfortunately just did not care for this film. I thought it should have been so many more things. I thought it should have been gayer. I thought it should have been more musical. Besides the Live Aid performance, I genuinely thought that all the performances in the movie were cock teases because I felt like we got a good 30 seconds of each, but didn't get to quite, fucking rock out to any of those choruses. And even though I think Rami Malek was fantastic, I don't think that he was given a good enough platform to necessarily match his performance. And yeah, I feel like what most upsets me about this movie is that I think it's kind of a weirdly bitter movie, despite the sunshiny outlook, and yet that could only happen from a third-party perspective on a singularly unique experience such as the life of Freddie Mercury. It's very clear that the 3 band members have a relationship with Freddie Mercury that we will probably never get the full truth about. Whether, we can certainly assume or, dig certain things out, but in general, it was kind of uncomfortable in the way that they wanted to contractually service Freddie and yet also play up their own agenda. So for me, unfortunately, it's a 1 out of 5 for myself because at the end of the day, the moment I was done with it, I just wanted to listen to Queen albums, not necessarily watch it again. And it's not because it's all that bad, but just because that's how it made me feel.
That's fair.
Cool. So, kind of speaking to some of the things that have already been talked about, I would give this a 3, just because, similar to some of the previous statements, as I mentioned, there's parts of this that I very much enjoyed in the sense of the live performance aspect of it was very well done. It was beautiful. Especially like Alex mentioned, that final Live Aid performance, it felt like a concert. And that was beautiful, to be able to experience that. And it kind of made me envious that I wasn't able to ever experience that. But at the same time, I don't feel that this is something I would watch just over and over again. Mainly for the story portion of it, and that sort of aspect of just the confusion of where the film lies. So is it more about Freddie? Is it more about Queen? Is it more about the culture that they created? Is it more just about their music in general? And in that case, I think it was trying to be too many things all at the same time, and it was being pulled in multiple directions by various people. And I don't think it necessarily worked because it got stretched a little too thin for whatever it was that they were going for as a concept. But again, that being said, I still, and I think you said it well, Nick, is that you don't hate the film, but at the same time you don't love it, and it made you want to go listen to the Queen's music again. And honestly, that is true for me. It definitely made me want to break out their greatest hits again and break out some of the albums that maybe haven't been listened to in a while, and that sort of stuff. But I very much enjoyed the film nonetheless.
What's your rating?
3.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, so my final rating for this movie is a 4 out of 5.
Yes.
I don't think it is perfect, but I really liked all of it despite its flaws, echoing the idea that, is this a Freddie Mercury movie? Is this about the members of the band? Kind of flip-flopping back and forth. I definitely felt that too. And, I mean, despite all of that, we did get to see what the end result was, which I thought was cohesive, albeit a little bumpy, a little rushed, a little excessively dramatic, because we only have room for one hysterical queen. So, I am really happy that I saw this in theaters. I feel like there are some movies that you kind of can experience it to the full effect when you see it in theaters, and this is one of them. And then also, I didn't want to end this without some fun facts. And I
You have
just
3 of them.
I have exactly 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 1.
Answered these questions 3 to get across.
Oh my god. Okay. So I saw this movie with my boyfriend, and
That is fun. Number 2.
it's not. That's
Not one of the tags.
okay.
Oh. Whoops, my bad.
So he's even a bigger Queen fan than I am.
Oh,
Because
But-
he's in a bigger queen. And I was like, all right.
I think at one point he like learned some songs on guitar and stuff, so he's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty awesome. So right before the movie started, I think it might have been during the Fox logo where we heard that jingle on guitar. Pretty nice touch.
Yeah.
Good job, Fox. He was like, you know what? I think this is going to start and this is going to end with the Live Aid concert.
ooh.
And he was right. And I couldn't
What?
believe it.
The fuck.
It was amazing. So apparently,
That boy's got the shining.
I know. So
Does he though?
apparently that's how the Doors movie is organized. Like it starts and ends with something
Yeah.
pivotal. I only saw the Doors movie once and it was not good. Anyway,
Oh, man.
so
It's got Johnny Drama.
basically also a second fact
Dylan? That's awesome.
is that the guitarist of Queen, in real life, he actually doesn't use a guitar pick. He uses a coin. He uses a British pence to strum his guitar. And because Brian May and Roger Taylor were obviously consultants on this film because they have the rights, he was trying to see, like, could you see if they put that detail in there? We couldn't really tell, so fun fact. And then also Live Aid specifically. So Live Aid was billed as being like the Led Zeppelin reunion, okay? Because at the time, Led Zeppelin hadn't been together for 5 years. In 1980, their drummer died, and so them, performing at Live Aid was a huge deal. Apparently what happened is that Phil Collins was like, yeah, I know Led Zeppelin songs. I can totally drum for you guys. That was a lie, and their set was awful. So that's how Live Aid went for Led Zeppelin. And also, echoing what everybody mostly had mentioned, that part of the film was so good. They rerun the Live Aid concert on TV a lot. So it was fun to point out like all of the nuances that they did really get right.
Yeah.
And I loved that, and I thought that was really great.
It was like a Gus Van Sant recreation of Psycho
Yeah.
in a good way, actually. So
As someone who pretty much hated this movie, I will say that the Live Aid sequence at the end was pretty great.
Oh my god, it was so neat. Yeah, so I am really happy with how this movie turned out, although there were some things that were rushed. Like, I have to mention this because it bothered me so much. I don't like how in the scene where Freddie is showing off his new house, and then Freddie's like, Roger, you have to stay for dinner. And Roger's like, no, I can't, wife and kids and stuff. where did we see that? Where
Okay.
did we see the moment of growth?
Okay, really quickly, to piggyback off of what you're saying, I said this to Alex, that I thought that was one of the stupidest bits of writing, because you have Freddie say that, and he's like, stay for dinner, and exactly what you just said. He said, no, if I have a wife and kids, I can't. Okay. 2 scenes later, he brings his wife to a, like, crazy bacchanalian party. And I'm not saying it's that crazy of a party, but still.
Right.
So,
Where's the kids?
well,
Yeah,
it's-
wild for
I
a
was gonna
married
say
couple.
him and his wife can't do a fucking dinner, but they can go to a party that they have to leave early anyway because they don't want to go to it anyway.
It was impromptu, and he was probably already going to have dinner with his wife and his kids, and they probably got a babysitter, and they probably didn't even think they were going to stay that long at the party, maybe like 20 minutes, and then it was going to be a big thing. But then Freddie made it a big thing, and then
But
he started
no,
like talking.
Hold on. I thought that the party was impromptu, though.
Yeah, he literally called and he was like, hey, invite all your people that you know. And he's like, I'll
Yeah.
invite all the fucking freaks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah, that
Or whatever he
was in
said.
itself pretty
So-
impromptu.
Yeah.
That's also a good
And yet
point.
they're
Not
literally
to crush your dreams,
all
Tucson,
3 band
but-
members are like perfectly placed in that room. Like,
Right.
oh, thank God we convened inside the living room.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm with you in that scene made no fucking sense.
Right,
to
and
me.
it was such a shame because a lot of the band members just had like such really bad lines. Like I feel like a lot of the not Freddie Mercury's did not have the best lines,
Yeah.
but not the Coffee Machine was pretty good. So
I agree with that.
But yeah, so
When they were bickering like just a normal band, that was fun.
yeah,
But when they have to move to more dramatic, like, oh, it's you were, yeah.
and then something that I didn't find funny until it was mentioned to me after the fact was when Freddie says, "I have it, I have AIDS," and then Roger Taylor goes, "You're a legend, Freddie."
Yeah.
Instead of
That's
just
an
saying,
interesting
"I'm
reaction.
so sorry that you have this terminal illness." But anyway,
Yeah.
so 4 out of 5. I loved this movie despite all of its flaws, and I'm really happy that I saw it, and I'm glad that it was made.
There is nothing wrong with loving this movie, in my opinion. Even though I thought it was mediocre, this is a film that someone who is liking what it's doing, I could totally see really liking it.
It's very consistent.
You could practically sing along with it.
So, thank you very much to Anna and Sam for both joining us. This was an awesome experience to have everybody here. Our 2 favorite guests.
Thanks for
I'm
having
so
us.
sorry.
Thank you for having us.
I'm sorry, I keep coughing. This is really embarrassing.
Running on fumes, man. You can do it. You can get to the finish line.
We're right there. So anyways, thank you guys for both being here. And from myself, Nick, and Tucson, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of Film Tank. We'll catch you next time.